Hey guys, Scripttrooper here with another video, and this is the review of the Acolyte episode 6, and, well, we're going all over the place. If you enjoyed the action-packed episode of episode 5, you can now enjoy the expository fest of episode 6. It's nothing but expository dialogue the entire time. There's just so little balance here in this show. But anyways, so it starts off with Osha waking up in what looks like Sith guy's condo. And it looks like he has a hot tub. He's got a little cooktop. I mean, it's not bad. Osha gets up and goes outside and realizes she's on an island somewhere. And the show tells us it's an unknown planet. Thank you for telling us it's an unknown planet. Instead of explaining it with a bit of dialogue or whatever, they put it on. They literally put unknown planet on screen. Okay, whatever. And then she walks along the rocky beach where there's these little creatures, and she sees Sith dude walking a ways down who had to have seen her. Like, it's... They make it so obvious that he's playing her. It's like, there's no way he got to where he got before she saw him without him seeing her, is what I'm saying. So it just like tells you as the viewer, oh yeah, he's playing her. There's no like cool thing that you discover later. It's like, no, he's completely controlling the situation. Thanks. So anyway, it cuts to Sol leaving the planet that all the Jedi got killed on, and he's trying to contact the Jedi and try and tell them what happened, but there's an issue with the comm link, and May, who's posing as Osha, tries to sneak up on him with a dagger, and Sol senses her. Not that she's trying to kill him necessarily, but he senses her and tells her to take the wheel of the ship while he fixes the issue with the communications systems. Okay, and then we see Sol mourning the deaths of his friends. And the acting is fine, it's good, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just a shame the writing didn't provide any character development so we would care or mourn with Sol. So you're watching this dude who's super sad about all these people dying, but you don't really connect with them because you're like, I don't know anything about these characters. There's nothing took place. So anyway, it was just such a waste. It's just such a waste. They didn't do any character development. So anyways, then Osha sneaks up behind the Sith while he's bathing naked. They kind of like obviously make it that way. It's like, oh, and later on he says to her like, oh, you know, are you gonna, unless you're gonna join me or something? Like, just a creepy line. Anyways, it's pretty obvious he did this on purpose. So she goes down to steal his lightsaber, and he starts talking to her like she's May. And then Osha asks if he killed Sol before asking about May, and then he like makes an issue about that. Oh, why are you asking about Sol before May? Do you love Sol more than May? And again, as the viewer, you're like, well, I don't know. I don't see any depth there. I mean, Sol was her master. She cares a lot about him. She hasn't seen May in forever. She's seen Sol. May's a nut bar. May tried to burn her alive. Like, is that really that deep that she asked about Sol before May? Anyways. And then Kamir starts walking back home, knowing she's not going to try and kill him. It's just bland. Like, there's no emotion about, like, there's literally no emotion with anyone in this entire episode except for Sol. Everything else is just blah, and like, why wouldn't she try to kill him? I don't know. It's just, Anyway, then Kamir just walks back home, and then back to Sol and May, and he gives her a big hug, and I still can't wrap my head around how Sol can't sense anything here. Like, she was trying to sneak up on him earlier to kill him, and he didn't sense anything. And then just so maybe he is sensing something and he's playing with her. It's hard to say, but it's just, I don't know. There needs to be a little more deliberate action here. And then just as the transmission from Coruscant is back on, the power in the ship goes out. So May, I'm assuming, pulled something to make that happen. And then we see the Jedi know that Sol's whole crew is dead. But they don't know why. So we're teetering on the edge of a massive lore-destroying, lore-breaking situation. And later on, I think you'll see that it's pointing in that direction. So back on the unknown planet, we find out Khmer was once a Jedi, and that if you go back to my previous reviews, I did think there was something more with him and Sol than just them knowing him as the apothecary. And I had that feeling, so they did foreshadow that reasonably well. Anyway, May and him have this little convo, and he's working on her to see that he's not really that bad, and that he has some wisdom, and she seems to be falling for it after he literally murdered all of her friends and stuff. It's super weird, and then he keeps working on her, and he tells her to kill him like she intended, and he asks her why she still thinks she's a Jedi. He asks her why she still thinks she's a Jedi when they didn't want her. And, I mean, he's kind of an interesting character, but I still don't think May should be falling for this. Interesting, other than the corny mask and all that stuff. But then Osha can't kill him because his manipulations are quite good, I guess. Even though, again, he murdered her whole, like, everyone she knows or whatever. And she's, like, super invested in the Jedi, but then still is falling for these manipulations that aren't really even that deep. And then on the other side, Sol is working on May with his guilt and how much he cares. It's just not that compelling, and each sister is facing the opposite influence they've experienced, but not in like a deep enough way to be super believable. You're kind of like, okay, whatever. But Sol does realize she's May, and he stuns her. And finally, some competence from the Jedi for the love of Pete. They've been so stupid this whole time. Finally, you're like, oh, he does sense it's May. Yay, he's not a total loser Jedi. And just then, Sol receives a message that there is a rescue team on the way. And for no reason, he just takes off back to Coruscant, I guess, right as they arrive. Like, they arrive right after that. And then you're like, why would he do that? So now they're kind of baiting this idea that Sol's actually not who he seems to be, and he's like a bad guy in the end or something. I don't think they're going to do that, because I don't think they're smart enough to do that, but maybe they'll try. And then the rescue team of random Jedi we have no investment in show up. Another group of Jedi we don't care about. They're just there. And then Headland's wife talks to the locals, or the Jedi talk to the locals, who think that all the Jedi just got killed by the big moths from the previous episode. And they have no idea about the Gimp Mask Sith, so the Jedi are just like, whatever. And then back to the Sith, Octu planet. They're basically, this is Sith Octu. It's a island in the middle of nowhere. So another super creative, just doing the same thing again. And then it cuts to Buddy fixing his Gimp Mask, and he explains cortosis and how the helmet gives the user sensory deprivation. Not just the ability to short out lightsabers, but sensory deprivation, so it's just them and the Force, and you know, I guess that explains why you can't really see a whole lot, because you don't need to, because I mean, at least we got an explanation, but it's like, whatever, like, I just, at this point, I mean, yeah, you explain why he wears a helmet other than just being Kylo Ren, who's like a weirdo with his grandfather's helmet. Yay. Anyways. So whatever. And then the Jedi rescue team find all the dead Jedi. And then Headland's wife busts out the lightsaber whip to kill one of the moths. Yes. The big light whip reveal was to kill a random creature that should have posed no threat whatsoever. That's literally what they did. Like I said in the last episode, the one thing that was okay was when Gimp Mask Sith separated his saber into two. And they did it in a fight, and it was kind of cool, actually. It was one of the few things that was okay about the episode. But in the case of the lightsaber whip, it's just her killing some random moth. Like, let the other guy do that. Like, what? Anyways, it's just super let down and lame, and I don't like the lightsaber whip, but if you're gonna bring it in, at least bring it in like a cool way, and they didn't do that at all. And then they start talking about how it might be Sol who is responsible for this, because there's lightsaber wounds, and he must have done this. And so then I'm like, of course he just left for plot convenience then. He left instead of waiting for them for 2 more seconds so that they could speculate that it was him that committed the crime. Like, that's just weak writing. Like, I don't know, we're in episode 6. Like, are they going to redeem any of this stuff at any point here? Like, they got very little time left to redeem some of these stupid plot points. Now that we got another stupid plot point that he just leaves for no reason other than for them to be like, oh, maybe he did it. So just left for plot convenience. Just like he wandered off after episode 4 when the Sith guy threw everybody away, and then the episode ends at another very stupid timing as far as I'm concerned. But then he's just not there, and this guy's slaughtering all these Jedi, and he's just gone for no reason, and then just happens to show up when May is running. Like, it just makes absolutely no sense. And so they do that again now for plot convenience. He's leaving. That's all I can attribute it to, because I have very little faith that they're going to actually have a good explanation. And at this point, I'm like, he better turn out to be like the Sith Master over Khmer. And that it was all just a show when they were fighting, even though that's not what they're going to do. But anyways, that would actually be kind of a crazy twist and kind of be cool. But as long as, again, every Jedi that knows is killed off. But anyways, I doubt they're going to think that deeply, and it's just going to be lame. So then Sol has May locked in a mental patient-style bed and tells her that she's going to listen to everything he has to say. And I'm assuming it's like details about Brannock, you know, where like the witch's coven was and why all of a sudden they were all dead, even though nothing was burning. And again, it just cuts away. There's no, that's where the scene ends. And you're like, oh, okay, yay. Thanks, show. And then Osha puts on the gimp mask. And it's just not believable that Osha would be falling for this after this guy killed all of her friends. It's just not convincing. Like, he's a good actor, and some of his lines, the Gimp guy's lines were actually pretty cool. I was okay. But the idea that she would just believe, you know, just start turning to the dark side from just those few conversations, it's not believable at all. It's not convincing. It's just, this show, they're trying to pretend to be deep, but it's like a super shallow pool. And that's it. And then the show ends, and you don't get nothing. Like, the pacing of this series is terrible. So one episode is like a complete pile of exposition. So like, this episode was nothing but 30 minutes or whatever. I guess about 30 minutes, because they have like 6 minutes of credits at the end and another 2 or 3 at the beginning. So really it's only a 30-minute show, even when looks like it's going to be 40 minutes. But anyways, it was just like all expository dialogue, and then a little bit of other stuff convincing the two girls to go the other way, but even that was expository. And then now we're told that Sol is gearing up for this big exposition dump on May in the psychiatric ward bed, and it's like, so you did 30 minutes of exposition, and now we're going to get another huge scene of that? It's just not well done. It's just crappy. I mean, there's worse episodes probably in Star Wars Disney Plus shows, but I can't offhand think of any. It's just corny and boring, and just this, again, the pacing of the episodes is bad, which leads to the pacing of the series itself as bad when you're waiting a week for the next episode. So now we're waiting a week for another exposition dump, is basically what they've set up. Yay. So there's zero balance, and I feel like there could have been an interesting twist, but it's not going to be interesting. I think it's going to be blah. They're trying to make it interesting, and I think they're failing, and we're already in episode 6. So that's it, guys. It was very meh. I wish I had more funny things to talk about, but it was just so blah. Like, at least my reviews of Mando Season 3 featured, like, really funny, stupid stuff with, like, pterodactyls spitting out kids and all sorts of, and jetpacks running out of gas conveniently, and funny things that we could laugh at. But this episode was just so bland and boring, and there was really nothing funny. It was just meh. It was just a giant meh. So, having said that, guys, let me know in the comment section what you think. If you've seen this episode, what you think about it. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. Always helps the channel. And feel free to check out anything else on my channel. And have yourselves a really good day.